So hello and welcome to This Is Not Rocket Science, TiNRS Tuesday. So Tuesday, name of the module. I'm well aware of it's a date, so it's kind of strange saying, have you heard Tuesday? A little bit odd, but it's a procedural sequencer for Eurorack. The manual says that they hope this brings boundless enjoyment and general increased happiness and never-ending productivity. Boundless, what a good word. It does seem to bring a lot of productivity. I find this highly motivating and inspiring to use. It's an algorithmic sequencer where we can change the algorithm, the amount of beats, whether this is a bar long or 4 bars long, 4 different scale types, and we can reflash the firmware in this for more, 4 different algorithms. Ticks is how many notes are in a beat, so 2 8th notes, 3 8th note triplets, 4 16th notes, or 5 quintuplets. Quintuplets. Not something you hear very often. Surprised to see that there, but great for encouraging playing around with odd-numbered divisions of beats. We can clock this, at which point the tempo control becomes a divisor for incoming clock. We have a reset input, a clock out. It clocks like a trooper. We have the X and Y parameter controls, and then the exclamation mark density control, which is fantastic. By CV or knob control, you can pull this from a very simple sequence in terms of not many notes, not many pitch changes, right through to something on every single pulse or tick, as they call it. We get a velocity output, which is stepped and variable per note, an accent output, a gate output, and the pitch output. And there's slides and all sorts in this thing. It's a fantastic module. The default slot assignments in terms of the 4 algorithms are Stomper, which I'll pull up on screen. The manual's great, by the way. This is where these graphics are from. Tritrance, Psycho Lead, and Wobble. And they're all available on there. The scale button, again by default, the default firmware gives you major, minor, Dorian, and a blues scale. You can change these, and the notes available in those scales are shown on screen. We can hold the buttons to make these blink. So while the algorithm LED is blinking, we can change our output mode from slides being off and short notes, slides on and short notes, slides off and mixed notes, or slides on and mixed notes. There we go. I recommend checking out the manual. The graphics are great. The examples for the different scale types and the graphics are fantastic. I'm just going to get into some patches with this thing. That's all the kind of spiel and talk I'm going to do. Here's a range of patches. It's the kind of module you want to hit record on. Hit record, patch this thing up. It's really quick to get some fantastic patterns and sequences going. Carpe Tuesday. Very impressive from This Is Not Rocket Science. I'll stop rambling. Let's get stuck in. So in this first patch, Tuesday is controlling, well, everything, including these drums, kick coming out of the beat, and then the tick is these hi-hats. This little background sound is a modulated wavetable oscillator just out of shot in the case behind. I'm using the velocity output to step through a VCA CV input to step the volume of the wave, and I'm using the accent output to actually move this up an octave by just fine-tuning the FM attenuator on this oscillator. I can use the accent to push it up and down in octaves. I'm using the loop function to trigger an envelope, which is also bringing this sound in and out of a second VCA. Let's check out the main bass line from Tuesday. So we have CV modulation over the X and the Y, adjusting parameters in this algorithm. I'm also modulating the exclamation mark function, which is the density of the pattern. I've got my filter being modulated, pitch information, splitting the velocity and the accent to things like feedback amount on my delay. Let's turn up the delay. So some hits have longer feedback than others. And with loads of scope by modulating this filter, its resonance, the drive and the cutoff, one from an envelope triggered by the gate, and then velocity and accent. It's a fantastic unit for just controlling a full voice, lots of modulation. As I said, everything that's here. So there's loads of scope for controlling a full system, doing some basic drum rhythms, lots of modulation by splitting these out, and a synth voice. So again, in this patch, Tuesday is controlling everything. We're just going to explore this without any CV. So, kick, 2 percussion elements, triggered by this tick output, which is going up into a sample and hold unit, and I'm using 2 different sample and holds with variable levels per tick. So these are kind of randomly triggering, actually using the CV. So when the sample and hold is high enough, it triggers. When it's not, it doesn't. Have a delay over the whole mixer as a feedback loop, which is being modulated and cut all over the place. Here's the synth patch. And the velocity and accent, which you can see on this screen, are actually controlling various wavetable parameters from an E352 that's then going into a Metasonics tube VCA. Before we get pitch going, let's just play around with the pattern. The gate output is triggering an envelope, which is opening a low pass filter. Here's that wide open. Let's put the drums back in. Let's put this to 3 ticks per beat. Nice triplet feel. Go from a minor scale to a Dorian scale, and back to 4 ticks per beat. Let's try 5, so quintuplets. Not so common to hear something in groups into 5 quintuplets over a 4/4 beat. It's certainly worth exploring. Go to a blue scale. and 2 notes per click. So that's just another patch with Tuesday controlling a full system, beats, effects, modulation and synth voice. So I have the golden prototype right about here and the normal Tuesday, and as I'm giving this one away on Patreon, I thought, why not use it? Why not go for 2 Tuesdays? In fact, you should all go buy 2, because doing this dual melodic pattern is really great with 2 of these. I have the clock out from the leftmost one, which I'm treating as the master sequencer, into the right hand one, slave. I'm taking the loop out as a reset every time this comes round the bar, into the reset in on the right hand one, and we have 2 sounds. Here's the leftmost normal retail version Tuesday. I'll mute the other sound. And here's the right hand golden prototype. And together they are really nice. I've tuned up my 2 oscillators, simply set these to the same scale and algorithm, and it was off. It took no time to create. It's fantastic. So let's pull a few things out and go through what is happening. We'll start with the leftmost one. I have my note and pitch triggering a synth voice, and the velocity and accent are triggering tonal changes. If I take these out, that's just pitch and gate. Then add the modulation from velocity and accent. Get these nice changes in this drum algorithm on my digital oscillator. I'm then taking this bottom trace, this LFO, into the density control. So turning that down, we get far less notes. So as this green signal comes up and down, more notes and less notes. Making that shape exponential, it will stay lower longer. And this isn't synced to anything, so it's just bringing in these little flurries of notes and pulling them back again. Have an LFO to the X parameter to modulate the algorithm as well. Again, unsynced, unrelated. We're just getting these gorgeous developments in this algorithmic sequence. This is the beauty of Tuesday for me, quick and inspiring. The second sound. Again, let's pull a few things out. So tick is coming out of this one and clocking my delay in my effects chain. Let's turn up the density. Different X and Y parameters, but we're in the same algorithm, same scale, so it's working. The gate's triggering the envelope, pitch is obviously going to pitch. And again, I have this top blue trace this time going into density. This is a faster LFO with a linear shape. And you can follow that, busier, less busy, more dense, less dense. I'm also modulating the Y parameter, which is playing around with this algorithm, get some little slides in there, which is working well. I could take this down to 2 notes per click, and even at full density then, let's put this one at full density as well. It's moving at half the speed. Let's modulate the density again. Gorgeous patch, very easily sequenced. Make sure you've hit record, this being algorithmic, and playing around. You're not storing these sequences, you're not making the note choices, and I find that really inspiring and fast. So here's something you probably didn't think of when you were looking at this video for Tuesday. Drums. And all the drums are coming from these two Tuesday modules. We're getting a bit of a polyrhythm with 2 ticks per beat, it's like 8th notes, and 3 ticks per beat. Let's put them both on 3. Nice triplet feel. Let's go 4 per beat, just like 16th notes. Just going to take the density right down. So I'm using tick outputs, beat outputs, loop outputs, and then accents, gates, velocity for modulation, pitch information coming through to modulate drum sounds as well. There's a little bit of Pico DSP, granular, reverby, delay in the background, just some effects. Let's just play around and see what we get. Let's bring in an LFO to modulate that density for the left hand Tuesday. And let's do the same for the right hand one. Let's go both to 16th notes. So one thing we haven't done is to actually slow this down, create long evolving envelopes that swell and create more textural ambient work with Tuesday. It's fantastic for that as well, but this video is already long enough with plenty of examples. We could go on for ages. It's so inspiring and so motivating, and just hit record before you start and amazing things come out of Tuesday. Go to my Patreon page to see about winning a Tuesday module. If you're there, those guys, I'm just going to give it away kind of randomly to someone on there in the near future. Go grab a Tuesday module, links in the description. Thanks for watching, hit like and subscribe. Cheers.